Welcome to Headlocks, Heels, and Havoc, the wildest mixed tag team in podcasting, where the kayfabe drops and the chaos takes over. Let's ring the damn bell.
Headlocks tight, heels on the prowl, dropping elbows, hearing growl, feel the foul. No script here, just real, no bluff. Kayfabe crack, now the dirt gets rough. Headlocks, heels, havoc in the zone. Stepping in the ring, chaos at your home. No filters, no mask, just raw, bare tone. Wrestling unscripted, we on the throne. Title bells, mic checks, crowd going crazy. Drop truth bombs, leaving lines feeling hazy. Beyond the kayfabe, past the charade, where legends are born and stories get made. Headlocks popping, who's hitting the mat? Welcome to the Havoc where the real talk's at. Tune in, step through, leave the fake at the door. Headlocks, heels, Havoc, now hear the roar.
Welcome to Headlocks, Heels, and Havoc, Wrestling Unscripted. Tonight, as we recognize Juneteenth, we honor a day that symbolizes freedom earned, barriers broken, and a fight that refused to be silenced. Those same themes have echoed throughout professional wrestling history, where generations of black wrestlers battled not only opponents inside the ring, but prejudice, discrimination, and limitations placed before them outside of it. Because of their courage, talent, and determination, they didn't just change wrestling. They helped redefine what was possible for those who followed. From pioneers who opened doors to champions who kicked them off the hinges, their legacy lives on every time that bell rings. And as we celebrate their contributions, the meaning of Juneteenth, remember this: freedom wasn't given, it was fought for. And in wrestling, just like in life, the greatest victories belong to those who never stop fighting. Tonight, let's raise some havoc and get this show underway, and let's ring the damn bell. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I am one half of the greatest tag team in podcasting. It's me. It's at LEGEND. And with me, as always, is everybody's favorite Uncle Slam.
What's up, family?
And as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have a very special guest, a dear friend of ours, and we're glad to have him back for this special episode. Welcome, Professor Bear from the Lord, I'm going blank here. Name of your show, sir?
It's catching.
A Bear's Thoughts. A Bear's Thoughts.
Yes, the podcast is a Bear's Thought, coming from WSN.
Yes, Wrestling Society
Network.
Yes, sir. Well, it's an honor to have you. And Lord, we got through that unscathed, almost.
Well, man, let me tell you, that was such a beautiful intro. It really made me think more of how much we need to celebrate and recognize special days like this. And I'm very honored that y'all would have me as a guest on your show.
Well, we're honored that you are here. And before we get started into any wrestling, I want to give you two gentlemen the platform to just tell everybody what Juneteenth means to you all. Whoever wants to start, Uncle Slam or Professor Bear, go ahead.
Well,
I'll let Professor Bear go first. He's our guest. Go ahead, sir.
All right, thank you. For me, it's a celebration to understand, and it's not just for our freedom as far as blacks, but I think it should be a celebration for all races, where you celebrate what is important to you, no matter in this crazy world we're living in today, with all this negativity and hate that is getting spewed. One thing constantly comes up that you cannot deny: no matter what way you look at history, is that we all play a part in it. Not one single race can hold, oh, we are all this and it wasn't for us. No, it's all of us. We all played a part. We all will play a part, no matter how one-sided you choose to look at things. We are all important. So instead of being negative, if you don't understand, try to have some get up and go about yourself to be willing to learn what is important to other people. Not that you have to follow it, not that you have to like it, but show respect. That's what's missing in the world today, a common decency and respect.
I agree 100%, Uncle Slam.
All right. I just want to thank like Professor Bear, because that was very well spoken, very well
Yes.
said. For me, honestly, like at first, I really didn't know much about Juneteenth until the last couple of years, until it became an official holiday. So I really didn't know much until I actually did some digging and kind of did my history and stuff, which is kind of sad. We should know more about it. To me, it's more than just a day to be off. It's more than just a federal holiday to get paid for or whatever. I think it's an American holiday. I don't think it's that. Like you said, we can look back and kind of learn our history. The good, the bad, and the ugly about America, because like everything ain't rainbows and unicorns and stuff. Obviously, it took some bloodshed, it took some blood, sweat, and tears to actually get to where we are as a country. And I don't think that we acknowledge that enough. It's kind of like that I was saying, you don't know your future until you know your past. And I think if we learned a little bit more, or kind of studied the past a little bit more, that we would probably make as many mistakes as a country. But I just feel like it's just a good learning time to kind of just come together, educate, enlighten, whatever you want to call it, to let people understand, another side of this country and stuff. You know what I'm saying? I feel like nowadays with social media, everybody stays to their little cliques. They stay their little groups where everybody just agrees with you no matter what you say. I think sometimes it's good to kind of go out of your comfort zone and see like another perspective. So, I mean, that's what it kind of means to me. Just a chance to kind of look at another side of things.
And have people test your beliefs. There's nothing, nobody says you have to change your beliefs. But if you stay in a bubble and never test those beliefs, then you'll never see anything from a different point of view. And case in point with me, I tell people this all the time. I was never raised, and for this story I'm going to tell, I have to thank Uncle Slam. And he didn't even realize he was educating me. But our friendship has went almost 30 years now. As a matter of fact, it is about 30 years. But I tell people this story all the time that I was raised to never look at anybody for anything other than the character of their person. Just if good people are good people, bad people are bad people, and it doesn't have anything to do with skin color or anything like that. So in a lot of ways, that was a good thing, but in a lot of ways, it sheltered me too to what discrimination and prejudice was. I never really sit down and thought about it because it just was a moot point. If you were cool with me, you were cool with me. I didn't care. But Uncle Slam and I were working together one time at a dry cleaners. We were sitting there talking as we always did and everything, debating stuff as we do now. We've been debating things for 30 years. But, we were sitting there and I made the comment. I said, I would love to make the money that we make nowadays, but to be able to live in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And Uncle Slam, without hesitation, said, I wouldn't. And I was like, I made that face like, why? And he was like, I'm black. It wasn't a very good time for us. And it dawned on me right then and there. Wow. I'm like, I'm getting cold chills just thinking about it right now. If I did live back then, whether I was prejudiced or not, Uncle Slam and I probably wouldn't be friends just because of the way society was. You just didn't associate with people outside of your race and stuff very much. And if you did, you were an outcast. So to me, I'm thankful for Juneteenth because I have friends like Professor Bear, like Uncle Slam, that I don't have to look at anybody and say, oh, well, this is, my Mexican friend or my African American friend. These are just my friends. These are the people that I love. These are the people that I care about. I wouldn't have a daughter who is of Puerto Rican descent. It just, it affects you in so many ways that you don't realize it affects you. And to hate people or not want to be around people for something that frankly none of us can help. We don't ask to be born anyway. We're just born. So, hold each other up, help each other, love each other. Doesn't matter who you are, where you came from. We're all human beings. And to me, that's the only race that matters, is the human race. So that to me is what Juneteenth is. And I think everybody's, words here have been really, lovely words because, we're able to come together and do this and talk wrestling and just enjoy the sport for what it is. And I love it. I'm proud to be here and proud to be able to celebrate this with you guys. So getting into wrestling and talking about some of the, early pioneers and stuff of professional wrestling. I was going back and doing a bunch of research, and there's people that, Lord, I've never even heard of. What was his name? Bearcat Wright. I had never even heard of this man, but I got to looking him up and everything. And technically, from what I can see, he was actually the first world heavyweight champion ever.
I saw that, but it didn't. It counted, but it didn't count because he didn't want to take the title. And so when they did give it to him, it wasn't like a wrestling match. And then what's his name? Buddy Rogers wanted it back on, I think actually on TV. So they technically said that it didn't count, but it did. One of those weird gray areas or something like that.
Right. Like
so that's
Ric
why they
Flair's
say
got a
Ron Simmons
24
is the first black heavyweight champion.
which I don't have a problem with that either because Ron Simmons is one of my favorites of all time, period.
Oh yeah. Him
But
and
then-
Doom or whatever, Butch Reed.
Yes. Then
Oh,
there's
man.
Bobo Brazil.
Yeah,
You
see,
know,
I didn't
Bobo
know anything
Brazil.
about him.
He was they call him the Jackie Robinson of professional wrestling, which is, it was just cool. Like you said, we shouldn't have to have special holidays to go back and look at stuff like this. This should just be known history. But
Yes.
because of, the stigma and everything that has went on through history, all history is not what we get, guys. We get the history that they want us to know. And I say they, I don't know who they is. It's the same they that did UFOs and all that crap. But at the end of the day, they that don't want us doing this, they don't want us sitting down here talking and coming to understandings with each other. Again, you don't have to walk away liking anybody, but just come to an understanding that you don't have to hate people and stuff for no reason. Sorry, I don't mean to get off on a tangent, but that's just the truth. So, yeah, Uncle Slam, go ahead, talk to us some about, some of the great African-American wrestlers that you've looked up and,
Well, like I said, I mean, of course, you were talking about that Bobo or whatever. I think he was one of the first heels, and that was like during, back when people really believed in kayfabe. So, like, he got a lot of heat and shit, like real heat and shit. Of course, there's JYD, who's one of my favorites from the '80s or whatever. I mean, how can you not like J? And I didn't know he was as big as he was back in the day, like in the NWA and the AWA. Like he was a monster. Like he was
He
like
was
Hoganish,
yes, he was
like in Mid
mid
South and
South,
stuff like
Hulk
that.
Hogan.
Yeah, like I
Yes,
never knew that. Like I thought he was just like a mid card because I judge a lot of things by because I grew up, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and so on are kind of my era. So I don't really look. I don't look back a lot at a lot of older wrestling, like unless I'm doing research. But doing research on this, yeah, I had no idea JD was as huge as he was. I mean, like he was a monster.
big time.
A lot of love, a lot of people loved him or whatever.
Yes, like I said, he was mid South Hogan, and I think he could have been
Yeah.
as big as Hogan.
I just
Easily.
I feel bad because he never got a world championship. I'm sorry, Professor Bear. Go ahead, man.
No, no, no. I was just gonna say. I was just saying easily. JYD had that that it factor. He
Mhm.
was the Hogan of Mid South, and that's why McMahon went and got him because he knew how valuable he was. I actually have a funny story about JYD.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I was
Shoot.
I was 15 years old, and my brother and my sister, I have two brothers, I have a sister and two half sisters. Well, my oldest brother and my sister were living in Atlanta, and they were living together. And my sister just had my nephew, so me and my cousin, we were close. You would have thought we were brothers and sisters than just cousins. We came down and we were hanging out with them. Well, doorbell rings. I get up, go to the door, open the door, and it's the effing junkyard dog standing in front of me. And I'm just like, what the fuck? And he's like, and his voice, ugh, is and my brother's name is LeBaron. Is LeBaron? I'm just standing there just amazed, and I'm like, and I did what I usually do. I just yelled upstairs, "Burr, the junkyard dog's here to see you."
I don't know how it happened, but
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what. And my brother, as my brother is, he's just so laid back, cool with everything. Well, send his ass upstairs. So I'm like, come in. And I'm still like, this is the junkyard dog standing in front of me. And then and to this day, I swear, I still don't know how it happened. And it doesn't make any sense. You literally had to be there, but he fell up the steps. And when I mean he fell up the steps, he missed two to three steps and got up. I don't know how the hell he missed those steps and was able to go up. I never to this day seen that again. But he missed 2 to 3 steps. I'm still it's just the craziest thing in the world. And as a kid, when you watching wrestling like I did, it was like the junkyard dog. And I'm still trying to process this. And also the one thing that seeing him made me realize is, damn, he's not that tall. Or either I'm taller than I think. I couldn't figure out which one it was. But when I say that man was huge, he was huge. Just thick. Another thought came across, man, I ain't no way in the hell I will fight him. No way. Ain't no way. They couldn't pay me enough to fight him.
right. Yeah, he was. I went back and looked at a bunch of pictures of him of course, Mid-South and everything. And like, I always had that image of JYD as having the little bit of a belly later on in his career and everything. You know, I know he had some
Yeah.
struggles in
That's
his
why I
career and
envision him.
stuff and everything. But that's what I think. Man, I went and looked at some of the Mid-South stuff and like, old dude was packing around a 6-pack the whole time. I mean, he was as built as, you know, Orndorff or Hogan or anybody like that. The dude was, yeah, it was just amazing to find out that he was as big of a star as he was. And I knew he was a big star, but I didn't realize he was on that Hogan plane and stuff like that. He was, yeah, it was crazy. What was it? The big angle they did with him where he went
Him
blind.
and the Freebird.
Yeah.
where they-
with the Freebirds. Yeah.
where they blinded him.
Yep. I was like, that's crazy. You know, I mean, I never knew about any of this, but again, you know, it's again, we shouldn't have to do, you know, have days to make us go back and look, but I'm thankful that it did bring that around to me. And not only speaking of the men, oh, go ahead, Professor.
No, I was going to say another thing is, especially back then, territories, you could be a superstar in a territory, be the biggest thing ever. And then you go to a different territory, nobody heard of you. They would think of you as a jobber, but not knowing how well known you were. And that was kind of the magic to the territory system, where you could go from one territory to the next and rebuild yourself. You could use your same wrestling gimmicks that you used in another promotion, and nobody knew about it, and get over so well. And that was the magic of the territory systems then, because unless you were like, as I used to say, you just one of those fancy families that could afford cable, or in my family's case, lived in the country and had satellite. You didn't know all these other promotions and stuff.
Yep. Most definitely. And see, that's another thing too, going back to the JYD thing. And again, I don't want to put anything on anybody because, you know, I don't know, I wasn't there. But what, you know, JYD, Mid-South, huge star. And it's kind of with the reputation that Bill Watts had, that's kind of surprising that his number one guy was an African American man. Because, like I said, Bill Watts was known for having somewhat of a reputation.
It's the funny thing about Bill Watts, and like you said, the reputation. The one damn thing that Bill Watts didn't care about was the green. If you could put butts in seats, he didn't give a damn if you were black, white, Mexican, whatever. He will give you a legitimate push and let you run with and see how well you did. He is also Bill Watts is credited for being smart enough to look past race and to embrace it and let people naturally cheer for who they like. And like I said, with JYD, he in 82, 83, arguably, you could argue that he was more popular than Hulk Hogan.
Yep. He was probably at that time the most popular wrestler in wrestling. Uncle Slam, Stupor Dave says to acknowledge him.
Oh God. What's up, Stupor Dave?
But no, you know, and again, we've started off talking about the men. Let's not forget the women. Ethel Johnson and her sisters Babs Wingo and Marva Scott were pioneering black female wrestlers in the 1950s, and Ethel was the first African American women's champion in Major Attraction. Now, to be honest, I couldn't find a whole lot of information on them. I don't really know what territories they were around. But of course, not only were they dealing with the fact that they were African American, they were also dealing with the fact that they were females in the sport too at the time. And that just wasn't happening very well either.
Yeah,
So
double whammy on that.
right. So it was like, but it's just cool because again, I didn't know anything about these ladies. And now at least I have a starting point of learning about them. You know, that's the cool thing. You know, for me, a lot, I never really thought about it again because of the way I was brought up. It was never really an issue. But then I remember the first time that really like something like a light bulb went off. And it was when Harley Race was in the ring telling Ron Simmons, you can go back here and get my bags and stuff and everything. I'm not going to repeat some of the stuff the man said because that was risque television at the time for the mid 90s and stuff. And I was like, oh crap, is he really saying, you know, even then I was like, oh, is he really saying that stuff? You know, I was like, wow. But that was the first time I ever realized that, man, there wasn't any, you know, black world champions. I'd never seen one. And then when Ron Simmons won that title against Vader, I was like, I was running through the house. You know, I loved some Ron Simmons. I'm sorry.
Oh,
you know,
yeah, me too,
he's one of my
whatever.
favorites. I wish to God they would have stopped with that whole Farouk crap in
What, the little blue
WWE.
headband? Or, I mean, the little
Oh
blue
my.
head cap or whatever it's called? Or,
I mean, he was like a gladiator, or, you know, I don't know
yeah,
what they
yeah.
were trying to do with him, but that was terrible, you know. And
Luckily, they
then,
switched it to the Nation after that. Thank God.
Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
honestly and truthfully, I think that's when he should have had his run as a world champion, is whenever he was, you know, part of the head of the Nation of Domination, because he was old enough at the time to where you could have put him as champion. But of course, Stone Cold was around, so it was
The
everything
Rock.
was popping off with all that and everything. But that's what I was going to say. You could have put Farouk as the champion, and then when Rocky turned, he could have beat Farouk and took over as the leader of the nation. You know, Farouk could have been, you know, down and out and whatever.
Yeah.
And then, okay, well, him and JBL, you know, became the acolytes as they did. But there was just so many other ways I wish they would have done that and everything. But I don't want to get too far ahead because there is a few other people that we are missing out too. Big Cat, Ernie Ladd. One of the first ever football players turned professional wrestlers. And not only that, he was a huge draw for the NWA. So
yeah.
I'll let you all go off on Ernie Ladd for a minute.
Well, I know he. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
Larry.
no. I kind of, a lot of this hits me personally because this was my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
I have another, I don't want to seem like that person that everything I have a story behind, but I actually have a great story about Ernie Ladd too.
Well, you're in the right place because we like
Yeah.
stories.
We
I mean,
love stories.
we literally sit here for an hour and 15 minutes listening to Mario Mancini tell nothing but stories. I had like 30 questions and I asked one and he started hitting everything, man. I was just sitting
He
there like,
did too. Like everything I was going to ask, he pretty much kind of was like slowly going along, just answering every question.
yes, sir. So go ahead, tell your stories.
So, Ernie, again, well, let me start by prefacing this, and Uncle Slam, I think you will agree with me when I say this. For us being black, we start to be drawn to seeing black athletes because it's like, oh wow, it's one of us.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, he's doing it. Not that we're rooting against white people or none of that, but it's always good to see representation of yourself. So as a kid, my father was a big wrestling fan. So in our household, Dad loved wrestling. That meant everybody was going to be into wrestling. You may not have liked it, but you dare not say you didn't around Dad or he'd knock your head off. So, this particular time, my mom, well, back then, my parents played cards a lot, and they had their friends where they go play cards. And me and my mom was going to one of her friends' house so she could play cards. I don't know where my dad was. I don't know where my brothers and sisters were, but I was with mom. And back in those days, you could have a kid sit in the damn car. Nobody said a word. Look, we rolled down the windows when it got hot. We didn't get out, but we rolled down the windows. So, just so happened we were going to play, she was going to play cards, and I don't know how she found out, but apparently Thunderbolt Patterson was going to be there playing cards too. Now, Thunderbolt Patterson was the early, everything you seen Dusty Rhodes with his mannerism, the way he speak, he had the vibe that could unite everybody. Dusty got it from Thunderbolt Patterson.
Mm-hmm.
He was the original talker. He could bring an audience. I don't care what race you were, he could bring you together. So I knew I wanted to meet Thunderbolt. This was like, wow, we get to go. I'm going to meet Thunderbolt Patterson. Oh, I'm super excited. So we get there. We go in the room, and my mom talking to her friend, and there's a big guy at the table. Oh, man. And turned out it was Ernie the Cat Lad.
Oh, wow.
Now, when they say Ernie was a big man, and I'm a kid, so, to a kid, you could be like 5'3" and look like a giant.
Yeah.
Ernie was a giant. And he was sitting down now. Mind you, he's sitting in a chair. And I'm still like, oh my God. So they were like, hey, it's Ernie the Cat Lad. Now, Thunderbolt Patterson was a fan favorite. It depends on what town and what was going on with Ernie, if he was playing a heel or a face. I knew him as a heel. So that's come up and they were going to introduce me to him. And I got this little sad look on my face. I was like, you're not Thunderbolt Patterson. And I looked at my mother. I said, can I go sit in the car, please? And she let me. I'm in front of a living legend, and my reaction is, you're not Thunderbolt Patterson.
You ain't Thunderbolt. You ain't
Go
Thunderbolt
sit in
at
the
all.
car.
You're the big cat. You ain't
Look,
Thunderbolt.
just go sit in the car, man.
Go back to the NFL.
Like, man, whatever. So, but I look at that time, it's like, wow, that as a kid, not knowing any better, I'm so caught up into the character. They had me sold on the character so much, I gave less than a damn. I'm in front of a live wrestler, and he was going to give me an autograph, and I told him no, I didn't want it.
Oh, wow.
I know you would regret that with every because I'd be kicking myself in the butt all the way to the grave.
And back then, you didn't break your character. You did not. If you were a heel, you were a heel.
Yeah.
He was going to do that for me, or I don't know if he was just doing it to make me feel good or for the lady's house he was at, but he was going to do that to me. I'm like, no, and walked and went, sat my ass in the car till mom got
so, that's so cold.
So it was funny. I look back at it now, and if he were still alive, I could tell him. I would tell him thank you for being that character where I despised you that much. I'd rather go sit in the car than get an autograph from you.
And I totally get that because, like, you know, as a kid, I didn't want $1 Million Man's autograph. I didn't want any of the bad guys' autograph. I didn't want to meet them, man. You a jerk. You know, you over here beating up the dudes I love and everything. So what do I need your autograph for? Now,
Yeah, but you would have took the $1 Million Man's money.
Oh,
he could have stuffed several $100 bills into my mouth if he wanted to and everything. I'd have done anything I could. You need your foot kissed or whatever? Nah, I ain't kissing no feet. That's gross. But so let me ask you this. So how has the role and portrayal of how do you all see the role and portrayal of African American wrestlers evolved in your lifetime? And do you still feel like there's a lot of unfinished business for African Americans in the sport of professional wrestling? Uncle Slam, I'll let you go first on this one.
Well, it definitely has changed or whatever because obviously in the 80s and 70s and 60s there was a lot of stereotypes. Not exactly all positive, honestly, or whatever. Which that's kind of changed now, or whatever. So I mean, it's definitely more positive, but it's still a lot harder, I think, for certain black wrestlers to get over or whatever. You know, like speaking of stereotypes, it's like the whole Kamala thing and stuff. Like back then, I kind of I liked him because I think he was a kid, but now I kind of look at him and I'm like, is that offensive or was that just I've changed as a person and I'm maybe more sensitive or I just know a little bit more now, so I don't look as I don't look at him as the same as I used to or whatever. Um, Obviously, we've had, world champs, like if you want to count The Rock, you've had Kofi Kingston has been a world champ, Ron Simmons, of course, has been a world champ. So that's not an issue. I'll give one thing to Vince, kind of like with Professor Bear touched on. Vince always did what was good for business. Like if it was going to make money, then he was going to do it. Didn't matter if you were black, white, purple, or whatever. If you could make him money, he would put you there. So race really wasn't a big issue. Now I know he did catch some heat before. I think Bad News Brown, or maybe left because I think Vince had promised him a title run and didn't give it to him or whatever. Yeah. I'm not exactly sure on all that.
Yeah, he was. I think he was supposed to beat Hogan, and then Hogan was going to drop it, or he was going to drop it back to Hogan. But he said he's seen that once that wasn't going to happen, he was like, "Peace, I'm out. I can go make money in Japan and not be champion."
So I think it definitely got better. I still think there's definitely a long way. I think we still have a long way to go. Whatever. See, I don't know exactly, pay scales and all that. I don't know. I know what I've heard from other wrestlers before, like Devon Dudley talking about JR and other wrestlers talking about uh, how it was, kind of, I don't want to say segregated, but there's definitely a lot of racism. And I think wrestling is one of those industries where it's almost like a microcosm of the world and stuff. Like if you have issues in the real world, it's going to bleed into wrestling and vice versa because they take a lot of stuff from our world and kind of blend it in for kayfabe and everything. So I think that definitely comes across, and it's kind of hard to escape all that. Now I think things have definitely gotten better. I think you don't have as much. I think talent kind of shines through more than race does. I'm not saying that that's always the case because unfortunately we live in a world where there's just still ignorant people in power, unfortunately. But I think it's definitely gotten better. But like you can always do better. You know what I'm saying? Like you can always improve on stuff. So hopefully, it will get a little bit better. But I'm not upset like I was in the past. Like I said, you know what I'm saying? Because I really, kind of touched on Professor Bear was saying once before. People gravitate to people that kind of look like them. Like and this is just my personal thing. It's like I became an Eagles fan because Randall Cunningham was probably one of the only black quarterbacks I ever saw.
Yep.
So like when I was looking for teams to follow, that's what I gravitated to because there wasn't any other black quarterbacks hardly at that time, and I was like, oh, well, he's a quarterback. He's with the Eagles. Okay, I like him, and then I've been a diehard fan ever since, or whatever. No matter who the quarterback's been. But that's what first drew me to them because I saw a guy who was a quarterback who wasn't white because most quarterbacks back then were all white and stuff. You only had a few that were black. So, yeah, like I said, we always can do better or whatever. Always can do better.
Yes, sir. Professor Bear?
Um,
If you need me to repeat the original question, I will.
no. I look at it like, and I think a lot of it too is I'm older. We get if we are blessed when we continue getting older, we continue to get wiser. Now, I look at the field of wrestling, and I see so many talented individuals. Will everyone I like get a world title run? No. It has to make sense. It has to be a good storyline, and you have to be just that person. Like I look at Swerve Strickland. Swerve money. He doesn't matter where he walks in, people are gravitating to him.
Yep.
He's a heel now, and people still gravitate to him. So more than likely he's going to have more than that one title run. Now, with that being said, just because of your skin tone, should you have a championship? No. There's so many different factors in that. I think that, like Uncle Slam said, we can always improve. We always can, but I generally try to keep race out of wrestling for me. This is for me because I'm looking at your character, what you bring, what gravitates me to you. And if you're a good character, you do good wrestling, great wrestling, I don't give a damn what color you are. There's so many different people, but then you can have the argument to this day, like, why is it just so happen that almost every black champion in the WWE had lost their title to Brock Lesnar? That's just kind of ironic that because they got squashed. You can't tell me an individual that went up against Brock that was black and had the championship did not get squashed. Now, is that something they did on purpose? Is it just a coincidence? Who knows? We could go back and forth, argue this, that, the other. But there are places and ways now. We got so many different organizations out there. And you can do so much and be a great person. You can build yourself up. Right now, look at Trick Williams. That dude is money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Money. Look at Oba Femi. Oh my God. Oba don't even have to even say a damn word.
The goofiest walk to the ring that I have ever seen in my life.
But they love it.
Yes.
They love it.
Yes.
Everybody stops. The little kid. Look, when I knew he was super over when I saw this old white lady doing the walk. And I was like, damn, come on. Come on.
What was it you said to me at SmackDown, Uncle Slam? because Trick Williams was coming out, and Uncle Slam looks at me, and everybody in there was talking about whoop that trick. And he looked at me, he's like, I wonder if these people know what they're really saying.
Exactly, but they're chanting it. Their kids are chanting it. Everybody is. They have no clue what they're saying. If they did, they wouldn't be saying it, but they chant it and they love it. It's like as soon as his music comes on that lights, it's like, oh, that track.
But that's the beauty of it, is that we're getting to that point where it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like we said, if you're good, you're good. If you're not, you're not. And that's all it should be based on. Period.
Exactly.
Don't look any deeper into it. We can't put this guy there because he's black, or we can't put this guy there because he's white, or he's Hispanic. You know, I'm glad that that's getting out of the way, because we can just enjoy the product for what it is and celebrate the best of the business. And that's what it's about. You know, to me, it is, at least, you know, that's why I always, like, I didn't know too. We were talking about JYD earlier. I didn't know that Watts was trying to catch lightning in a bottle again after JYD left. He was pushing Butch Reed to be the next JYD. And then, you know, just little things like that is just, it's cool to know, because I'll be honest with you. To me, Butch Reed was always just a mid-card or a tag team guy. He wasn't ever, you know, he was the natural Butch Reed, you know, blonde hair and stuff, you know, in the WWE and stuff. And it was just, he was never going to be that world champion guy to me. But of course, I didn't see him in Mid-South. I didn't see him getting pushed to the moon, you know, not saying that he deserved it or anything like that. He was just, you know, whatever, if he deserved it or didn't deserve it, whatever. I just didn't get to experience that, to see him as anything more than what they presented him to me as back then. Now it's not about what they present somebody to you as, it's what that person can do to get everybody in that arena yelling, whoop that trick, or doing a stupid walk to the, you know, I hate that walk that
or yeeting or whatever.
Yeeting or whatever. It does, you know, it's just, I really like the way that wrestling has evolved, you know, in that aspect. So let me ask, oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to bring up a fun fact. Now, I'm going to ask both of y'all.
Okay.
What are the major world titles to you all?
Are we talking about now, or are we talking about all time?
All time.
To me, all time, I would say AWA, WWF, or WWF/WWE. Of course, NWA, WCW. If you're going more modern day, I would, as much as I don't really like to say it, ECW. AEW, TNA. Lord, I'm trying to think. That's pretty much it for me. I mean, you know, All Japan, New Japan, of course,
Yeah,
you know.
See, that's the only thing I was going to add or whatever. I don't know enough about AAA to say if their mega championship is actually a world title, but I think Legend pretty named probably most of the ones I was going to say.
Okay. The reason I asked you that is we had who was the first African American world champion.
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many different companies that legitimately could have been a recognized world title. Now, we're talking about athletes, and once I get through this, I'll bring it back to the broader picture. World class. World class was a.
I left that one off too.
World class was affiliated with the NWA, and they broke away. Once they broke away, they had their own version of a world title.
I know who you're going with this too. I know who.
And I got to meet him a few weeks ago. And he had the original title there.
Oh my
Damn
god.
near, everything in me had to just keep telling myself, don't cry. Do not cry. But Iceman King Parsons won their version of a world title. And it was in, I think it was in 87 or 88. I can't remember which date. Most people will argue, well, that wasn't a real world title. Why wasn't it? They had every right. They were going overseas. They were going around the world defending that title. So I thought of it as a world title.
If they met all the qualifications of what made, the others a world title, then it was a world title.
What does make a world title? Is it just saying it? Is it the size of the organization? Is it defending in other places? Like, what are the criteria?
I'm so glad you asked. So back in the day, the only way you were a recognized world heavyweight champion was through PWI, the magazine,
Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
They had they had a system that told you, okay, if you met these certain criteria, you were a legitimate world heavyweight champion in their eyes. Now they were the damn near the tip top of all wrestling magazines. If they called it a world title, everybody else would call it a world title.
Their rankings were the ones that were, looked at as the prestigious rankings.
Yes. So that was back in the day. Now, hell, who knows? It's a world title because I say it is.
Right.
and it's so funny. I look at things like that as, well, if you don't leave your state, hell, if you don't leave your county, how the hell you got a world champion?
Right, you the county champion.
It doesn't sound as good. I'm the county champ.
Right. But again, and I say this all the time. You have a company, you can call it whatever you want. If you call it a world championship, it's a world championship. Sure. But don't expect me, for my knowledge of wrestling, to call you a world champion or look at you as a world champion. Like, here's another good example. MLW. I think they have every right to call their championship a world title. They go overseas. They are all over. They have title defenses regularly. So to me, I think of it as a world title. And with that being said, I can't even think of the gentleman's name. He had a long title reign there, and he was black. And actually, I have an interview with him that I never released. Lord have mercy. I'm old, so y'all got to forgive me on that. But the whole point of what my thought is this. We could go argue back and forth who's a world champion, who's that. In the end, it's like if you made a difference. Like Iceman King Parsons, when I got to meet him, the thing I told him, I was like, I appreciate you because you were a representation of me. You were a black man. You were I can't even get the word out.
Apologetic.
You were truly you. You didn't try to be anybody else. Your mannerisms were you. He came up with some phrases. You Rudy Poo. What? Oh man. He had certain moves that was black people just like, oh, that's us. That's us. He was himself. And that made us feel good because we saw a bit of us in him. And I got to thank him for helping me as a young man. Like, man, I can do that. If Iceman can do it, I can do it. And then after Iceman, look at Harlem Heat. Look at all these different athletes that come up behind them. And they seen and known about them. And they were their favorite wrestlers. And my biggest thing is this. History is written by the winners. It's not the truth. It's not what happened. It's who controls it.
That's it.
We lose a lot of different history because the winner don't want you to know about it. It don't matter. WWE is the top company. If they tell you something, 9 times out of 10, we choose to believe it because they're WWE. You do some research and find out different. And then, well, no, what? You lied.
AKA Hulk Hogan was the first person to ever body slam Andre the Giant type stuff.
Yeah. I mean, hell, Harley Race was body slamming Andre left and right.
King Kong Bundy body slammed him.
Yeah. Hogan body slammed him 5 years before WrestleMania 3.
Yep.
So again, it's what people tell you. And I always encourage people, do some research about it. I'm not saying every time somebody says something, they're lying. Maybe they don't know. So it's always good to do your research and to find out what's true. Like I said, they say Ron Simmons, first black world champion. Well, hell, like I just brought up, 88, I say 88. 88, King Parsons was the world-class champion. Then you look at that championship, it got sucked into the AWA championship.
Yep.
Look, a lot of people, they talk about Kurt Hennig. I know this is a little off topic, but Kurt Hennig never won a world title. Bullshit. He won the AWA.
Rick Martel, one of the longest reigning AWA champions ever.
If you just have to do your history on your subject. Just don't believe the one person. Like, for everybody sitting there listening to me now, I'm not sitting here telling you that Iceman King Parsons was the first black champion. I'm just telling you when he won this championship.
Does that give him a legitimate argument to say, hey, I was the first? No offense to Ron Simmons.
And just like y'all was talking about Bobo Brazil, he has a legitimate beef that he was the first world heavyweight champion. Just because he didn't accept it didn't mean he didn't win it. Look at Shane Douglas with the NWA title.
Yep.
He threw it down to declare ECW title, but he was still recognized by the NWA as a world heavyweight champion of the NWA.
Yep. It's amazing how much, and that's the thing, like you were saying, do your research, because even if you don't find what you think you're looking for, you're going to find some fun facts, fun information, and stuff that's just going to pretty much just blow your mind. You're going to be like, well, I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? Again, like the Butch Reed thing. I wasn't looking for Butch Reed specifically, but I found out that Butch Reed was getting pushed like a Hulk Hogan, in Mid-South, same way that, Hulk Hogan was pushed in the WWE at that point. It was just, you can learn so much if you just do a little research. And it doesn't even have to be what you were researching about, because it'll take you off on so many different side roads with so much knowledge and information that it's fun to, I love researching. I love learning history, any history, period.
Fun fact about Butch Reed. Butch Reed was supposed to win the Intercontinental Championship. He didn't show up to a show, and to punish him, they decided to go with somebody else.
Yep. 100%.
And it's again, the little things that you find out, it makes the whole process make you look at it differently. Like you said with Butch Reed, a lot of people didn't think. I know a lot of people thought he was a mid-carder. I knew a Butch Reed as a badass. Knew him. When him and Ron Simmons created Doom.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Man, they ran roughshod. And we're talking about at the time with some of the greatest tag teams, the
LOD, Steiner Brothers. Yes.
Midnight, Rock and Roll. All of those were there. Imagine that's 5 tag teams right there.
Exactly.
And that's not including it. That's not including the Skyscrapers.
Yeah.
That's not including all the other tag teams that were around at the time too.
Dominating.
Yes.
And they hardly get any mention.
Yep. And it's sad. Well, see, it's funny because I tell you, whenever I was going back and doing my research, I found something, and I had forgotten about this, and I remembered it once I started reading it. And I'm thinking that, WCW did an about face really quick and real smart when they debuted Harlem Heat. I don't know if you're going to remember. They brought him out with Colonel Robert Parker, a guy who was dressed like a plantation owner.
Oh God.
And to no fault of his own, what I'm saying? He was playing the character they wanted him to play. But the kicker of the whole gimmick was that he was walking out, and he was walking out with them with chains wrapped around their neck. I was like, I want to know who in that office approved that.
This is a great idea. The fans will love this.
The booking committee at the time, I want to know who it was, because somebody failed. And if they didn't get fired real quick, I was just like, wow.
I can tell you who was running the office at that point.
Please don't say Dusty.
And no, it wasn't Dusty.
Okay.
But it was somebody that we've mentioned a few different times, and it will go to it will make sense because of some of the rumors about
Watts.
Yes.
Yep. Because at that time he had stopped all the top rope stuff and everything. Now that you mentioned that, I remember that. I remember him coming in and everything. Yep. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm just,
I remember their names were
Kane and Cole. Yep. Harlem Heat, Kane and Cole. But see, I remember them when they started in was it the Global Wrestling Federation on ESPN?
Yes.
Because they had Steve Austin there. They had Harlem Heat. They had the Lightning Kid, which was the 1-2-3 Kid. They had the Handsome Stranger, better known as Marcus Buff Bagwell. Who else did they have? Scotty Flamingo.
Yep. They had Ahmed Johnson.
Yep.
They had Mick Foley.
Yep.
Oh man. And and this what got me to loving the Lightning Kid was who he took on, Jerry Lynn.
Yes. Jerry Lynn.
They had a tremendous feud. They just tore the damn house down.
Yep. I don't know how that company didn't succeed, but with the talent roster that they had, it's sad that they didn't.
Eddie Gilbert.
Yeah.
His brother was there. The Patriot. God.
Yes. The Patriot was their Hulk Hogan there.
Yes, he was.
Yep. Dale Wilkes. That's crazy. But yeah, that's crazy, man. It's like I said, I love going back and learning wrestling history. So let me ask you all this. how do you all think like the athletic excellence and charisma of the stars like The Rock, Booker T, Jade Cargill, just all these African American wrestlers have influenced like mainstream perception of not only just excellence in professional wrestling, but beyond wrestling?
Now, say that one more time.
So, how do you think that like the athletic excellence and the charisma in the ring
Yeah.
and stuff has helped, just influenced things for African Americans and entrepreneurs outside of wrestling, like people like The Rock and Booker T, who have shown that, we're not only we were successful as wrestlers, but now we're successful movie stars, we're successful business owners. You know what I'm saying? How do you think that
Okay.
that has really, helped beyond wrestling?
Well, like you kind of course, use the easy example is The Rock. He took his fame from wrestling, translated to Hollywood endorsement deals. But I mean, that's what a lot of I say athletes do now. You know, you can take your wrestling and go to movies. You can get endorsements. You can, you know, take it and go other avenues. You could go UFC. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's so many ways to make money once you become, say, a superstar or a star on wrestling that can translate. You know, like whether it's just, whether it's clothing, uh, music videos, just social media. I mean, you can market that, or you can like monetize just people watching you. You know, whether you're sitting at home, obviously, Twitch is a huge thing. A lot of other social media. I mean, there's lots of avenues to make money or to increase your following or your presence because of social media and the way fame kind of goes instant. Before, you might have to wait a little bit. Now things go viral and it can take one day and then the whole world knows about you or whatever. So, I mean, there's huge opportunities. I'm trying to think of anybody else that's a really good example as far as, taking, I mean,
Booker T, he's got his school, he's got a successful podcast, you
yeah.
know.
I got a good one for y'all.
All right.
Ron Killings, our
Yep.
truth.
I love our truth.
Our truth is a successful rapper. He he was into the music before he was into wrestling.
Didn't he just come out with a country song too, or like a
Yep.
country rap or something like
What?
last year?
Are
Yeah,
you serious?
yeah,
Yeah.
I did not know that.
yeah.
He is super talent. His talent. And here's another one. Look at Austin Creed.
Yeah.
What he does in with the video games and that aspect of it. Man, he's popularized it, made it so. Look at what he did in WWE before WWE realized how much money they could get off of him and what he did.
And I'm going to jump on WWE real quick. Sorry, don't mean to cut you off, Professor Bear, but I'm going to jump on them real quick because it's a damn crying shame that that man never held any individual titles in the WWE. Because I fell in love with him when he was Consequences Creed.
Yeah.
When he come out dressed up like friggin' Apollo Creed all the time in TNA, I absolutely fell in love with him. And then he came as Xavier Woods. I was like, okay, I'm sold. Let's do this. And then nothing. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, I feel that way too, because it's like when they talked about the New Day, oh, Big E, Kofi World Champion,
Yeah.
and then Xavier, King of the Ring.
He had more personality than either one of the other two, and I don't mean that as a bad thing because I
Yeah.
love Big E, but him coming out holding the microphone the way he did backwards,
Yeah,
and
like a
stuff.
like a champagne glass or something like.
Yeah, I mean he was great.
Yeah, it's
Such talent misused.
It's to get back to your original question, I think a lot of that is just what Black people do. we are always trying to think 2 moves ahead. I mean, look at some of the stuff that we popularize that's a mainstay in wrestling now. The um
Do you
we're
think it's
always
because
doing.
of past racial history that's had to become a mindset for a lot of African Americans in this country? Not even just wrestlers, but
Yeah,
just I have to be thinking 2 or 3 moves ahead. I can't just be thinking about right now.
I I think I think that's true. But I would say it like this, because I can only talk about my experiences and what I went through and go through. I always tried to make sure my family was taken care of. Once my family was taken care of, what did I want to do? What is a good thing for me and my talents? And where I landed, it's like with wrestling, if it wasn't for my wife pushing me into this, who knows where I would have been. She pushed me into it. And because she knew how much I loved it. And when I didn't believe in myself, she believed in me. So it's like, bam, okay, it's taken a while, but hey, I'm happy. If I never get bigger than what I am today, I'm more than happy, because I'm in the wrestling business. People know me. I actually have people who are fans of mine. Never in a million years would I thought I would be in the business that we all love. I contribute, and man, I, who can beat that?
Right. That in and of itself is an accomplishment. Not only that, but you're a Hall of Famer too.
Yeah, and and that is like, wow. Again, and see, and it goes back to you as an individual, what you look at as an accomplishment. As much as I've heard people, well, you're a Hall of Famer, hell, you didn't do nothing, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. Well, after you get said, you get done saying what your negativity. Are you one? And
Right.
are you saying that because you're jealous you ain't one?
That's it. I
I'm
mean,
happy. I'm happy. I'm pleased. I'm thankful. I'm blessed. I, knock on wood, I can count on one hand where I have problems with people. Most I don't. I try not to. I try to be kind. And if we have a disagreement, man, we grown. I can let it go. You let it go. Don't talk about me. I won't talk about you. But
it's really that simple.
hell, man, I'm a grown ass man dealing with knee, back, hip issues. Man, give a damn that you don't like me.
I ain't got time to be rolling around on the ground with nobody. It hurts too much
Man,
getting back up off the ground.
look, and I say it like this. I am a big individual. I'm 6'4", 300 easily. Man, I ain't about to wrestle with you. If it got to that, I know how to protect myself. But it's not going to come to that, because I'm not going to let it. I'll leave. Bye.
That's it.
It ain't that serious. Now it gets serious when you come at my friends. Okay, now we got an issue. Now I might have to come out and show how the claws can come out on Professor Bear. But most times, hell, it's not worth it.
It's not. And it's life is too short again to hate people. Anybody for any reason. It's just too short. It's easier to just say, okay, we disagree. Let's go on about our business and just keep it moving from this point forward.
Oh yeah.
So let me ask you all this. So which African American wrestler, and we'll start with you, Uncle Slam, which African American wrestler's career or and I hate even putting it like that because they're just wrestlers, you know what I'm saying? But we are spotlighting African American wrestlers, so that's why I'm saying it. But at the end of the day, guys, we got to stop separating people with stuff like that, you know. And just like I heard Morgan Freeman say it one time. He said, "I'll stop calling you a Jewish man. You stop calling me a black man, and I'll just call you a man, and you call me a man." And that way, you know, there's nothing wrong with being proud of your heritage. But when everything you hear is thrown up in your face, you know, you watch the news and the first thing you hear is a Hispanic man, a white man, a black man. Well, they do that to put that divide in your mind. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, a man robbed the bank. Doesn't matter who he was an idiot and he robbed the bank. That's just all there is to it. But anyways, getting back to my question. So which wrestler's career or persona kind of resonated the most with you all personally and why? Uncle Slam, like I said, we'll start with you.
That resonated most with me.
Like who you just, you know, you seen him and you was like, that's it. That's my guy. I can.
I would probably take this and like, I guess I would go. When I was younger, I would easily say probably like a Ron Simmons or somebody like that, just because he was so dominant. He was that big guy, you know what I'm saying? As far as Doom was probably one of my favorite tag teams next to the Steiners and LOD. And he was just no nonsense, you know what I'm saying? Like he just handled business. Now, the older I got, you know, obviously during the Attitude Era, I would probably lean more towards The Rock just because he was so charismatic. He was so funny, you know. Wasn't always the greatest wrestler, but he put on a good performance or whatever, and he was very entertaining or whatever. Now, if you ask me, I could go.
You out there whooping that trick, ain't you? No, I'm just joking.
I would probably say Trick Williams or maybe like Jay Lethal or somebody like that, or you know, or Swerve Strickland or whatever.
I love Jay Lethal.
Yes, he's awesome, especially for somebody that's never been in the WWF and shit, or WWE, what do you want to call it and shit. I think he's awesome.
Like
Especially
Machismo.
Yes, I love that shit.
Yes.
But that's probably the way I would do it. I would probably do it by eras or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like Ron, then Rock, and then now, you know what I'm saying? It's probably a toss up between, like I said, Jay Lethal and maybe a Swerve Strickland. If I was gonna say WWE, I don't know who I would say. I'm trying to think of. Don't even really know, honestly. Like I said, 'cause there's not a whole bunch of that really.
You know, for somebody who's been as successful as he is, not a lot of people mention Bobby Lashley.
That is true. Like I said, well, that's because I think he's more kind of spread out. You know, he did the UFC, the TNA, the WWE thing, and whatever. He was kind of successful at most of all of it. I know the UFC was like 15-2. I know in TNA he won world champions or world championships, and I know in WWE, of course, he did too.
I didn't know that about the UFC. I didn't know he was that successful in UFC.
Yeah, well, mixed martial arts. I don't know if it was exactly UFC, but when he was doing mixed martial arts, Bellator. Okay,
yeah,
but he still had a successful record. Or
right,
like,
right.
Oh man, he was vicious in there.
No, yeah.
Professor Bear, who would you say?
I think I would have to do like Uncle Slam. For me, early on, Thunderbolt Patterson. He just had that. He had it. He could talk. He could draw people in, and he was a fighter. I look at Jay Lethal. Man, Jay Lethal has that career. If you didn't know any better, you would probably think, oh, he's just a mid-carder. And he had one hell of a run in Ring of Honor.
Yep.
When they were Ring of Honor. I mean, up until Athena just shattered his record, Samoa Joe's record. He had one of the longest title reigns there. Hell, truthfully, I actually even looked up to Ron Killings. And I do mean Ron Killings, not R-Truth, because he won the NWA world title. And he was the first black heavyweight champion of the NWA.
Yep.
A lot of people don't. Most people think he's just this goofy, funny wrestler. And he actually is a hell of an athlete.
Even at his age now.
Man. Yes. If I looked at now, it's Shelton Benjamin. He is so underrated. And he, to me, he is the modern day Arn Anderson. He is that utility player that can, man, look, we need this. We'll give it to Shelton. Hey, we need somebody to look good with a title run. Put him in the ring with Shelton. Hey, we need a great technical match. Send Shelton out. He does not get the credit he deserves and did not realize on how huge he is. A buddy of mine got the pleasure of going to a Christmas party at Keith Lee's and his wife's house. And Shelton was there. And he took a picture with Shelton. I told my buddy, I was like, and my buddy's a pretty big guy. I was like, what the fuck? He makes you like a dwarf.
Yeah, Shelton's deceivingly big.
Yes. I was like, oh my God.
And not only that, but he's probably my top 3 favorite Monday Night Raw match of all time with him and Shawn. When and he took my favorite Sweet Chin music I've ever seen in my life. When he done that springboard, and Shawn, that was beautiful. Both of their timing on that was beautiful. But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. That was basically it. And while we're on the subject of African American wrestlers, and certain people are popping in my head, I don't want to forget about Bad News Brown / Allen.
Yes.
He should have been a world champ.
Yes, he should have. Legit tough guy.
Legit. If he wanted to go his own way in the match, he could do it.
Mm-hmm.
He was legitimate.
He was
one of those people you did not want to piss off.
He was an Olympic medalist in judo as well. It was a bronze medal, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And oh, by the way, congratulations too, because his daughter just joined Wrestling Society Network, from what I've seen.
I don't know if I should say this or not, but we are working on an interview with her. I am.
Well, I sent her a link and told her, because I'm friends with her on Facebook, which I'm honored to be friends with her. Me and her have been talking about her coming on too and everything, but I told her I don't want anything to interfere. If she's got to get, things worked out with you all, that's fine. But I'd sent her a link and told her that we were doing a show tonight, would probably be talking a little bit about her dad. So, like I said, if you're out there listening, you're still welcome to jump in here real quick before we get out of here. But yeah, it's an honor to know these people, for years he was just, and again, I don't know much about Bad News Brown or Allen, whichever one you want. I don't know which one he liked going by more. I want to say it was Allen because that's the one he used mostly outside of WWE.
Yeah, and that's where he was most famous in Stampede Wrestling. Yeah. A lot of people don't even realize that he wrestled with the Hearts. Yep. He was friends with the family.
Yep, and that's one reason why him and Brett worked together in that Royal Rumble, or yeah, it was not Royal Rumble, Battle Royal, where he
Yes.
done the Ghetto Blaster. I have never in my life ever watched anybody do an enziguri and not thought about Bad News Brown. And when they started calling it an enziguri, I was like, I don't even know what they just said, but that's a ghetto blaster. I was like, I don't know what an enziguri is, but that's a ghetto blaster. And Bad News Brown used to do it all the time. But yeah, it was great. You're right. You got to mention him. He should have been at least one time a WWF champion. And politics is politics and whatever. I don't know.
So
but that's sad.
I got another one for y'all, and it's gonna blow y'all mind. Did you know the first ladder match was Jake Snake Roberts versus the Junkyard Dog?
I did not. Mid-South?
No, it was in Stampede.
Oh, really?
JY was going by a different name there. He, I want to say he was going by his legal name, but him and Jake Roberts were the very first ladder match. Not Sean, not Brett, Junkyard Dog, and Jake the Snake. Is that not crazy?
That's awesome, because that's two people I would not envision being in a ladder match. Yeah. I'm sorry. I like Jake, but Jake was not a master technician. He was a master of wrestling. But as far as an in-ring, he was good at getting beat up. He was good at selling for people. And, but other than that, yeah, I cannot imagine those two in a ladder match.
When I found it, I like, wow. It was crazy. And as much as people talk about ladder matches and they hate the referees holding the ladders and stuff, when the first ladder match was done, they didn't have the folding ladders. They had the extending ladders. They had the refs hold the ladder while they climbed it.
Oh,
look it up!
Wow!
Look it up. Y'all will. You won't be sorry that you did.
You better have a stout referee to be able to hold these giants up like that, because, man, I wouldn't want to do it. I remember the night watching Monday Night Nitro that they announced that JYD was in the car wreck and had passed away. I remember where I was sitting. I remember it's just like one of them things, you know what I'm saying? You just remember, because it took me by total surprise. I mean, I knew JYD was pretty much heading out the door. He would make appearances every now and then and stuff and everything, but it wasn't like full-time wrestling anymore. And I'd heard, about the rumors about the issues that he had, whether they were true or not. I don't know. I'm not going to embellish on that. That's his personal life. But it was sad to hear, because if I'm not mistaken, he just fell asleep, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then just went off the road, and it's just crazy, how you remember things like that. So definitely, the world lost a definite icon that day. It's sad.
Another wrestler that comes to mind, African American wrestler, and I got the privilege of meeting him, talking with him, and having the conversation that he comes from the same hometown as my wife and her family does. Coco Beware.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I ain't heard that name in a long time.
I hated that Birdman gimmick.
I did too.
Because once I went back and finally found some of his stuff from, before, that dude was bad.
Well, he gained a lot of weight. I mean, you can tell, like, he was kind of out of shape, like when he was
Birdman.
Like you said, because he used to be a lot more toned or whatever.
Yes.
What was the what was the tag team he was in?
Him and Owen Hart.
No. This
Oh.
was before WWE. I can't think of the other guy's name, but all I'm envisioning is like the red Michael Jackson
Yes.
jackets. I was going to say the Ebony Express, but that wasn't it. It was something
The
Express.
PYT Express.
Yes.
And his partner was I'm probably wrong. I want to say Rufus R. Jones, but I can't remember if it was. I don't think it was Rufus. It was I can't remember. And I was just talking about his partner with somebody else, and I cannot recall his name.
We're gonna find out right here. That's the beauty of the internet.
Yes.
Let's see. The Pretty Young Things.
Yep.
The PYT Express with Norville Austin.
Norville Austin. Yep. And here's another. See, this is why my buddy calls me Professor, because of the stuff that I always remember. Do you want to know that Norville Austin also started one of the most famous tag team groups that he does not get credit for?
Who's that?
The Midnight Express.
Really?
Him, Dennis Condrey, and Randy Rose. They were a 3-man team. They were the original Midnight Express.
Yes. Now that you mentioned that, I don't know when it was. It's been a couple of years, but I remember seeing that because I was like, huh? I was like, where's Bobby Eaton? Where's, you know? And no, Bobby Eaton was not an original member.
Yep.
It's crazy. I love learning wrestling history and talking trivia and stuff.
Again, another fun fact, because it came to my mind. Bobby Eaton was on the tag team. I can't remember his partner, but they were the one that beat them for the title that they had. They were dominating in CWA at the time.
Yeah, Continental. It says in the early 1980s, Ware wrestled under the ring name Sweet Brown Sugar.
Yep.
After a controversial incident involving Jerry Lawler, he teamed with Bobby Eaton in Memphis, winning the AWA Southern Tag Team titles. That's crazy. That's what I love about wrestling is so many people have, interacted with each other. And it's like I said, it's sad that we don't know this stuff unless you go looking it up.
And here's another good one that's going to really mess y'all up. Do you know Coco Beware was a legitimate world heavyweight champion?
Really? Where?
USWA. He won the unified championship there.
Oh, that's another promotion I'm surprised did not, but I guess it was where the major promotions were expanding and cable and everything.
Yeah.
Just kind of got buried and everything, because that's about the same time that Lawler came over to the WWF, and they kind of became like a talent territory for the WWE and everything. That's crazy.
And the
Godfather, the Soul Taker. Well, him and the Undertaker were a tag team for a while before he was the Undertaker. Yep. All righty, guys. So I got one more question for you before we get out of here. I just we'll start with you this time, Professor. Looking ahead, how do you envision like the next generation? We've touched on some of the next generation: Swerve Strickland, Trick Williams, Obafemi, and that's just touching the male side. Then you've got Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair. All these other ladies that are in the business too, doing their thing. Soon to be back Naomi. And
don't forget the longest reigning heavyweight champion of all time of Ring of Honor, male or female, Athena. She does not get the credit she deserves. She's been on a damn near 4-year run that does not get talked about nearly enough.
She's about to break everybody's record. I think Roman's record. I think Moolah's record.
Oh, She had never touched Moolah's, unfortunately.
Yeah, because Moolah's like 20 some odd years.
Yeah.
That's but see, like we talked about, there just wasn't nobody to wrestle.
Yeah, there wasn't
then.
anybody. That's like, you had like 5 or 6 people, so it's like
Yeah.
you kind of had
When
to
you defend
Yeah.
the title once every 3 years, it's easy to keep the title. You know
What
what
are you
I'm
talking
saying?
about? That's the way it is now. I mean,
Yeah.
You got a point.
True.
I mean,
They've reverted back.
yeah, they went back to history.
So, looking ahead, how do you all envision the next generation of African American wrestlers building on the legacies of like the ones before them, and what role should fans play in supporting that progress?
So, for me, and my dealings with a lot of independent wrestlers, I'm very, very hopeful that the future looks bright, that these guys and girls are doing their thing. As I always try to, when I'm getting asked for advice, I always tell the wrestlers, go back and look at the past. Do your research of the wrestlers that came before you, the ones that had have to that had to pave the way for you to be where you are now. Don't forget them. Do whatever you can to keep their name circulating, because you can be the greatest thing in the world. You can be bigger than Hogan, The Rock, Austin. But if you don't keep the history alive, you are doing a disservice not only to yourself, but to the business. I mean, I don't know why I didn't wear the shirt. I had made me a shirt. I have 2 shirts. One is Thunderbolt Patterson wearing a crown, and the other one is Bobo Brazil, Art Sailor, and I can't remember the other gentleman. All 3 black. As much as I know wrestling, I always still try to do more research, get it out there, make these topics where people are disgusted. We'll go back and find. There are so many great authors out there that write books on it. Man, I'm not a big reader, but I always encourage people, go and do the research. Go read books. Go dive into it. And if you can give some kind of a tribute to them, then do a tribute to them. Like I said, keep it going. Keep that history there, because if we don't, it's going to get lost. We are the only ones that can protect our history. So make sure you can share it as much as possible.
I heard somebody say one time, "We are the storytellers," and it's the truth.
Yeah.
You know, Uncle Slam. Question to you.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything that Professor Bear said. I'm just going to add on a little bit to it. I feel like, what I'm saying, I'm hopeful. Like, I feel like it's in a good place. I feel like with a lot of the, next generation, especially second generation, maybe third generation wrestlers, that a lot of that history, a lot of that knowledge will be passed down, that, people will only get better as far as wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Like, more athletic, more talent. They got better schools, they got better teaching now. You know what I'm saying? More education. They bring you along a lot better. From being an indie to Involved to Next to SmackDown to Raw. They kind of guide you like a little bit more. They help you a lot more. So I feel like it's in a good place. Like I said, it can always be better. I always hope for the best. Um, hopefully we don't go back. You know what I'm saying? I don't think we will. But I agree with Professor Barry. You definitely need to learn history. I think anybody that wants to be good at anything that they do needs to learn the history of it first, and because it can only help you. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's past mistakes, whether it's knowledge that people haven't passed down or didn't share. You could always learn more. You could always do better. And I feel like the same way with wrestling. I hope it only gets better. Whether it's the storytelling, whether it's the action. Giving people that maybe you didn't think could be superstars. Because before they never thought you'd have like a Shawn Michaels or a Bret Hart as a champ. You only had big guys like Hogan and Andre as champs. Now we know that you can have a small dude like a Daniel Bryan or somebody else who not exactly you wouldn't think would be a star. Like I never thought Kofi Kingston would be a world champ, but he turned out he did. Now of course he lost and got smashed by Brock, but um, he got that chance that maybe 5 years ago or 10 years ago that he may have not have got before because of how far wrestling's kind of come along. And I think it really shouldn't matter as far as color, as long as you put faces in the seats, and people put green in your hand. I think that's the most important thing. It shouldn't be about black and white or red or whatever. It should be about if you're talented and you got the qualifications and you can do it, then do it. Like let the talent show. Don't let politics get in the way, or backstage stuff or whatever it is. Let that talent shine.
I 100% agree. It does, if we, like you all were saying, you don't look at history just to learn from the success. You look at history to learn from, okay, what didn't work? And are we trying to replicate what didn't work? Because if we are, then we need to stop doing that. And like you all said, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we don't have people that want to take it back to anything like that, because the sport and everybody in it has benefited so much from just the barriers that, like you all said, people like R-Truth, Ron Simmons, Bobo Brazil, all these great names, Thunderbolt Patterson, all these great names that we've talked about, Booker T, Booker T, how many guys do you know that went on from tag team success the way he did? And you could argue that Harlem Heat is probably one of the top 3 to 4, definitely top 5 greatest tag teams of all time. So how many people were able to get out of that stigma of being a tag team wrestler and go on to become a multi-time world heavyweight champion in 2 organizations? And that's a name we've left out is Booker T. Well, we kind of touched on him a little bit and everything, but giving him his flowers. All these guys broke down doors for the next generation, and with like I said, Obafemi, I hate that walk, but everybody's doing it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's yelling, "Whoop that trick!" They don't know what they're saying, but they saying it, and it's rattling the roofs of arenas. To give it back to Booker T. They're raising the roof, and they're raising the bar, and that's one thing I'm glad to see is that we're not basing who our world champion is or who the best guy in the company is based on your skin color anymore. We're doing it off of talent, off of what it should have been based on all this time. So I'm very glad to see that the business is where it is. As you touched on earlier, it can always improve. Everything can always improve. But I think as long as they keep this trajectory, then the improvements are just going to come themselves. I don't think it's something that we're going to have to push too much for anymore, because it's just going to be widely accepted that we're not going to accept the past anymore, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. One person that we didn't mention, and I have to mention him for 2 reasons. We didn't mention Tony Atlas.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was getting ready to say Tony Atlas and Rocky Johnson.
Yes.
The very first WWF Tag Team Champions.
The reason why I wanted to mention Tony Atlas is twofold. One, a couple of weeks ago, Tony Atlas won a heavyweight title.
Oh, wow.
I think Tony is 77, and he won the title. Crazy. The second reason I want to mention Tony is I had a run-in with Tony. And it was at a fan fest, and walked up to him. He's like, "Oh, you a pretty big boy, ain't you?" I said, "Well, yeah." I said, "Yes, sir. I'm pretty. That's what they tell me anyway." And he's like, "I bet you think you the shit, don't you?" I was like, "No, sir." "Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. I tell you what, you come back here and help me up. Let me go to my room, get my Geritol, come back down here and kick your ass."
Yeah, we got some pretty good stories about Tony from Mr. Mario Mancini the other day. He said he's just got a big bellowing laugh.
Yes.
He said he was talking about how they were sharing a story. They were in Poughkeepsie, and he was sharing a story that they were talking about where they were in the locker room and they were talking about Chief Jay Strongbow. And Mario said he got up out of his seat and walked 6 steps, pulled his underwear out of his ass, walked 6 more steps and pulled his underwear out of his ass because apparently Chief Jay Strongbow's ass couldn't stop eating his underwear. So about every 6 steps he had to pull it out. I was dying laughing, but he said as soon as Mario did that, as soon as he took those 6 steps and pulled his underwear out, he said Tony just turned around. He said, "Chief." I said, "That's great." Just to have stories like that. And see, that's another great thing is, look at the friendship there. It didn't matter, who, what, when, where, why, or how. They're just friends. And that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of this day is that, celebrating what we're celebrating here and has led to things like this. It's led to a 30-year friendship between me and Uncle Slam, because like I said, had it been years ago, we probably, and neither one of us probably would have ever even had a problem with each other. It's just we wouldn't have talked to each other, because of the way society was. And that's so sad. That, to think that there were people and friendships and, relationships, just love back then, and that couldn't be spread around because of the fact of people's ignorant insecurities. And that's all it is it's insecurities of of the unknown. Well, that's how you stop doing it. You get to know it. And no, not everybody's going to like each other, and that's fine. But for the ones of us that do, man, thanks for breaking down those walls, because it's that's led to this. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it other than just, I'm thankful for the day. I'm thankful for, the fact that freedom is what it is, and it's supposed to be for everybody. And that's what we've got to keep our eyes on. It's not just about my freedoms. It's about freedoms for every man, woman, and child in this country, because that's what this country is supposed to be about. I don't love everything about America, but I love everything that America is supposed to be. And I love that we can all make it better if we just try a little bit. And that, I mean, I'm going to leave that as my final thought. I will let you all give a final thought on, Juneteenth and what it means to you all with wrestling and everything. And I was going to say, Professor Barry, if you don't have anything else to do, you are more than welcome to come back and help us out with the recap show if you would like to. We'll be back on in about 10 minutes after we end this one. So if you want to stick around, you're more than welcome to. But I will let you take it away with your final thought, then we'll get to Uncle Slam and his final thought.
Thank you, and definitely will. My final thought is that we cannot do anything about the past, but we can do something about the now and the future. We just have to start calling out what's wrong and doing what's right. Again, if you see something and you do nothing about it, then you're just as wrong as the person who's doing it. Just, man, stop. It's so much easier to be nice, and if you don't like somebody, just then don't deal with them. You have a freedom. We are so blessed for the times that we are in now, but if we don't continue fighting and continue standing up, it could easily, unfortunately, go backwards because there are people who want it to, and we can't allow them to do that. So
I 100% agree. We cannot let hate win.
yeah, as far as wrestling, and continue doing what y'all doing. Keep enjoying it. Make it fun. That wrestling is supposed to be entertainment. Entertain. Don't and I know it's gonna sound funny coming from me, but damn it, don't take it so serious where you want to fight the next man. Hey, it doesn't happen your way. Okay, maybe next time, and enjoy it. Just enjoy it. Stop being so hateful. It's so much going on now. Just try to be as friendly as possible.
Amen. Uncle Slam.
I guess to wrap things up, I'm gonna say, and I say this, I probably say this too much. It's like you ain't gotta like me, but like you at least gotta respect me, and that's just it's just simple respect. It's like I don't expect everybody to agree with my point of view, and actually I know a lot of people don't agree with my point of view, and I'm okay with that. But as long as you come at me respectful and we can have a discussion and not name calling or yelling, and just go down to stupid stuff, then I'm okay with that. I can walk away. I mean, and you legend know of. I mean, we've had many of heated discussions, debates, whatever you want to call it, and 5 minutes later, man, we're same as we've always been and shit. That's just how we've always been.
That's it.
We don't take things too seriously, and I kind of wish a lot of other people would be kind of like the same way. Like I said, I think we've kind of got away as a society, as Americans, where we let people divide us too much. And I don't know if it's just internet, I don't know if it's social media, I don't know if it's politics or what, but we need to learn that we're more alike than we are different.
Yes.
And that if we want anything to change, that we have to do it together, because the people at the top are not going to do it for us. They're not going to make themselves uncomfortable to make us happy. So it's going to take us as a group to get together, whether it's white, black, Mexican, Hispanic, Asians or whatever. When it comes to wrestling, I just, I enjoy it so much. I feel like the future is bright for the most part. I am a little worried about WWE when it comes to the whole TKO, but I think eventually that will right itself. Um, I think if you just let people be who they want to be, that they'll eventually shine. Um, so just enjoy it, like you said. I mean, like wrestling's meant to take your mind off your problems for a couple hours, to enjoy something without thinking about how stressful life is. Because we all know life is very stressful. Bills, food, especially nowadays. And just to be able to go either to a match or just sit down at the TV and just zone out for 3 hours and not think about any bills is a beautiful thing sometimes. So I'm happy that I can, get to do this. Like maybe one day I can do it professionally and get paid for it.
Right.
But I'm not getting paid right now, and I still enjoy it a lot. Like I love talking to people. I love talking about wrestling. You know, and I'm gonna keep doing it as long as I can. And I just hope that there's a lot of other people that feel the same way, that want to see wrestling evolve, want to see it get better. And I think as long as you leave someplace better than you found it, that everything's going to be all right for the most part.
I 100% agree. Just like the wrestling business, leave it better than you found it, And like me and Uncle Slam have agreed a long time ago, we're not going to let people who don't care about us divide us. So, that you don't know who I am and you sitting up on Capitol Hill, and that's any of you, left, right, up, down, donkeys, elephants, whatever. You don't know me. I'm not letting you decide who is in my life and who I love. I can agree to disagree with people, and just like you said, do it respectfully and walk away and still be friends. It doesn't have to come down to fanning the flame of hate. Just not going to be a part of that. Not what I'm, no, not going to do it. But yeah, guys, I have enjoyed this episode. I have, I love hearing other people's insights. And honestly and truthfully, this episode made me look more into what Juneteenth was. And on top of that, not only did it make me look into it, it started a discussion with me and my daughter here. Because earlier today, she was asking me, Daddy, what's Juneteenth? And I got to, inform her about, American history, which is awesome because that's the way you do it. That's the way we fight things like these, like prejudice, racism, and stuff. You educate the next generation and you show them that this is not the way you do things. This is, like you said, we learn from history. We learn from the good, we learn from the bad, and we educate the younger generations to do better than we did because we made our mistakes, and we're going to make mistakes so they can learn from those mistakes. So I'm just thankful to be here. I'm thankful to have friends, like you all that, can come in here and talk about matters like this, and we can sit and have a civil conversation. And it's not about anything else more than just love and respect and, just wrestling. Wrestling can bring so many people together, and I've always said that. But yeah, guys, if y'all don't have anything else, Uncle Slam, you got anything?
No, sir. I'm tapped out right now.
Professor Bear, you got anything else? Want to plug anything?
I'm good. Just continue to love wrestling. That is my message.
That's it. Well, guys, I think the referees hit that 3 count. Remember, we will be back in about 10 minutes after we take a little pause for the cause. I believe Uncle Bear, Lord God. I'm trying to combine y'all together. Uncle Bear, Professor Slam over here. I believe Professor Bear is going to join us for the recap. So we will see y'all in about 10 minutes. Referees hit that 3 count. So we're going to ring that damn bell.